19. 20. Second last, put your hands straight like this, turn around like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Present. Out. Present. Out. Present. Out. Clap for chairman.
Coach Bob, thank you. It was a good refresher. You know, sitting for so long is not good for our health. I believe we are moving on well, and within some 20 minutes we shall be done. We are done with issues of procurement, and we have resolved that the contract for the supply of motorcycles be provided to us for further scrutiny. We go to performance evaluation, review funding of your strategic plan. We do observe that you had a budget of 68581, you are given 1.3 trillion with a variance of 636 billion. A serious funding for your strategic plan. Review of the implementation of the strategic plan. The auditor undertook a review of the status of your implementation plan, and from the review there was assessment of the ministry's performance against the set targets over the period of 2020-21 to 2024-25 in terms of overall performance. The entity achieved a performance of 74%, demonstrating substantial progress towards set objectives. 26% of planned strategic interventions and actions were not fully implemented as shown in the details below. These are the strategic plans that were not, actions that were not implemented. Facilitating industrial sector development and competitiveness, develop trade sector and Uganda's trading relationship, improve environment and private sector growth and competitiveness, facilitating the building and strengthening of the private sector institutions to strengthen the MTIC and its agencies' capacity, strengthening communication function. These so many. The following were not met during the period of planning. Yes, can you take us through what the strategic plan for the 5 years, what it communicates to the country, and what does failure to implement some of these planned activity or planned actions mean? What is the implication to the sector and to service delivery as planned by your entity? And also, as you proceed, you will also speak to the alignment of your plan to the budget in regard to the National Development Plan 3. In other words, let's do with strategic plan implementation.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Our strategic plan was actually cleared by NPA, and we will avail the committee with the copies of our strategic plan. We have identified a series of priorities in alignment with the 10-fold growth strategy and the NDP4. But in relation to this particular matter, our non-performance on the issue you have raised was due to inadequate funding, and these activities have since been rolled over in the strategic plan for the 25-26, 2029, 2030. So most of these activities will be handled in the new strategic plan, but the head planning is here Mr. Msoke, was the one who handled that development of that strategic plan, so he can highlight further on the way forward.
Thank you, PS.
But as you do highlight, we need to go slow. Let's look at the table. Let's respond in relation to the table below table 3. Table 3 that shows the inconsistencies between the annual work plan and the forecasted strategic plan funding requirements. Whoever is to explain, you need to flow. You flow with this arrangement.
Madam Chair,
yes.
I agree with you, because once you divert from the main road, from the strategic plan, you slow down its progress. No wonder we are seeing here 74% achievement. So the 26%, most of it you might find it is in the versions. Because of no linkage, you implement outside the strategic plan. So you need to explain to us clearly whether whatever you did in the ministry was all from the what? Strategic plan. Because we want to account for the 26%, which was not what? Implemented. And when you carry that balance forward to the new plan, strategy, you are going to create a lot of pressure. Where are those resources coming from? And yet it's just a matter of indiscipline, maybe. So I'd love to understand it properly and clearly.
Thank you, Honorable. Let's proceed.
Thank you, PS. Table 3 Chair communicates our 5-year budget, which was in total 681.9 billion, and during the 5 years received 1,318 billion, and had a variance of 636 billion. Chair, if you look at the actual,
and you need to educate us, first educate us on this, because we are saying the ministry is underfunded. For us, by looking at this budget versus the actual, for us it shows that they gave even more than what we had planned for. So you can explain to us the meaning of this.
Yes, Chair. Chair, according to the interim strategic planning review report, 70% of the actual funding was allocated to subventions. Subventions under the ministry included Uganda Development Corporation. By the time we had margin.
Excuse me, sir. Madam Chair.
Yes.
Giving monetary subvention shouldn't be an excuse at all. If there was a strategic plan, Madam Chair, strategic plan identifies that this is the ministry, these are subvention. They are also planned before. What we need an explanation on, how come the strategic plan projected 179 and you got 251? How come in 2021 you projected 64 and you got 254? That can easily help us to understand you. But just saying that because of subvention, you mean you never planned for these subventions?
And
strategic plan before accounting. And besides that, let me tell my brother, my young brother, you now get a performance of 74, and yet you got a funding which is bigger. The two cannot be sisters or brothers even. They can't be in one clan. So what is happening?
Chair, thank you, Chair. Our 5-year plan indicated a funding of 681 billion. In the process, Chair, we received over that. And why do we receive this additional support? Chair, it didn't come to the ministry, but we had subventions in the ministry which got supplementary funding. Supplementary funding was approved by Parliament. Was appropriated by Parliament, and this funding went to Uganda Development Corporation. It went to Uganda Management Training and Advisory Center and the former Warehouse Systems Authority. So that's where the additional money went, Chair. So and was processed through the normal procedures, and Parliament gave us approvals.
So, just 1 minute only. I wanted to find out then, is it possible for you to quickly dissect the two so that you're able to tell the percentage in terms of performance for the original, the one for the ministry? Leave out the subvention to UDB. So in terms of performance, whether they release all your money that you needed, however small also, what performance did you realize?
Chair, as a ministry, we didn't...
Cut this one, please. If you move with me on table 3, 2021, your budget was 179.8. You received 251. So should I assume that the 71 went to the subvention you're talking about?
Yes, Chair.
And that implies that you got 100% of your budget.
You needed only 29.
Does it mean so?
No.
No, let's...
Because that's what you're trying to, what you're explaining, that's what exactly it means. It means any extra money you're seeing came for the purpose, came through supplementary and was for the subvention. I will take it that every extra, where I find the extra, it implies that for you got 100%, your money, your plan, according to your plan, and an extra went to the subvention. So it would be easier for you to tell us that, Honorable Chair, 2021, we gave this amount of money to subvention ABC. It's more explainable there, easier.
And actually now our interest will be so much on the balances. You give subventions, you're talking of UDB, they are just near here. We can always cross over and ask. But can you tell us exactly what you remained with and your performance?
Now let's do this. You explain the table, the way it is. Go to the first year, 2021. Explain the figures and we proceed. Year by year.
Chair, I don't have the actual breakdown between the agencies and the ministry. Yeah. As of now, at this moment, I can't give the figures, but I can provide, Chair.
It's okay, but you do so, the way it is.
In the table, Chair, in 2021, our budget was 179 billion, we received 51 billion, and the balance was 71 billion.
251, eh?
Yes. Then 2022, our budget was 64.16, we received 54.4 billion, and the variance was 190 billion.2.
Now, we go to, the budget was 64. So the 254, meaning this 190 was for the subventions, eh?
Yes, additional support.
So that means for that year, the ministry's budget was 64 billion?
Our budget has been very small, ranging between 9 to 13 billion as a ministry.
So this is what was just a plan, eh? This is what you had planned.
So as a ministry, our budget has been fluctuating. The non-wage current operation. Non-wage current operation, between 9 to 13 billion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mudemi.
Madam Chair, this subvention is under the ministry. I saw your strategic plan.
Yes, but
incorporates all.
Yes, but if it comes, we will pass it over.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
But you have to input the requirements into the ministry's strategic plan.
Maybe
because there is a subvention, they don't have a vote. Yes.
Maybe wants to tell us that UDB, the other people also prepare their own strategic plan. So for you, just send the money.
So cumulatively, you can know how much has gone to UDB?
UEDC.
UEDC?
Yes.
Cumulatively?
Yes.
How much?
From here, Chair, I can tell.
And Madam Chair, Mr. Msoke, you're responsible for this planning under the accounting officer's watch. But I also want to believe that you're coming here with even leaders of your subventions is confirming to the fact that you're running one strategic plan. The head of the institute, the training institute, where is she?
They are not here.
No. Yes, Madam was seated there. Warehouse is here. Warehouse is here. But there's also the training. Yes, she was there.
It was RAPEX to education.
Honorable
Okay,
Chair and
whatever the
members,
case, whatever the
MTAC
case.
is now under Ministry of Education, so they now report under the Ministry of Education and Sports, not under Trade. Previously, yes, they would report under Trade, but not anymore.
Madam Chair.
Yes, but nevertheless, you cannot run away from a strategic plan that enables you to facilitate your subventions.
Chair.
Yes,
Chair, did I
Honorable
hear her correctly? I could have missed her. You're saying these subventions don't report to you? That's why they are not here?
Honorable Chair, that's not what I have said. I said that MTAC previously would come with us. Even the last meeting, the engagement we had with PAC, we actually were with them. That was before RAPEX. The moment RAPEX was concluded, they were merged with the Ministry of Education and Sports. So now they don't accompany us
And
for
UDC?
these meetings. UDC is with us.
They are around?
Not at this meeting, no.
Why
They're
not?
here.
And Honorable Nsamba, actually, you are right to question why not. Because if they are the ones who are taking the biggest chunk,
and they are not
money,
here.
and even when they are processing a supplementary, the supplementary is not for you, it is for them. And then for them, they don't turn up.
I think they are audited independently.
Independently, but they are
reports-
your child.
Their
They
reports
belong
go
to you.
COSASE, not
They have a vote.
They have no. They are a subvention under the ministry, but their reports go to COSASE.
I don't know. But Madam Chair, you gave a guidance that they should prepare some information for us. They should come out clearly, showing the monies, the strategies for the other subventions, and then ours, the original. We want to really find out your performance. You as you were talking about something between 9 and 13, about you are not yet clear.
Honorable
Annually.
Chair, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, I pledge we can, Mr. Msoke can look for that information, the detailed breakdown, which will show how much the ministry got in each of these years, and it will differentiate what the subventions were from what the ministry's allocations were. We can look for that information and avail it to the committee.
But as we do proceed with providing the information, there is something when I made request of you to give us an explanation of what this means, what's the impact, because I told you from the onset, for us we thought the ministry is well funded. When we looked at these plans, having 681 as a plan, they add you more money. For us, it looked as one of those ones that at least seem to be well facilitated. Now you come here and say most of the funds go to UDC, meaning the ministry stays financially constrained. So that's why we wanted to appreciate how the ministry operates, how you are affected by such a strategic. What does it mean to the country? Because this is our plan for the 5 years, to serve the people. Then you are not funded as expected. Though from the onset it looked as if, it was promising. The reason as why we ask these many questions is because people expect a lot from you. People will bring all the complaints on table. For them, they will not know those things of the strategic plan. So the fact that you have an opportunity to inform the country of, at times, why do you see us fall short of your expectations, is because at times we plan for more, given less, then, output automatically is constrained. Otherwise, even if you submit figures to us at times, so that's why I wanted you to really explain so that people appreciate what the impact of not living up to the expectations of the strategic plan. But even to make matters worse, when they show a performance of 74 of your strategic plan, that indicates that most of the activities were implemented.
Then Madam Chair, additionally, now it sounds like UDC deserves to get their own vote. Because now when their money passes through the ministry,
it is now portrayed that they are giving you a bad picture, like you have a lot of money, yet actually you do not have. So why don't you, if it's proper now, start initiating and lobbying for UDC to create their own home effectively by creating a vote and avoid the passing. How can they be getting big money, bigger than for the parent? Usually for us in a TESO, if you are, when you are eating, the father normally, even when they are eating meat, he gets more pieces than the what? Than the children. How can you be taking a lot of money as compared to you? And you are still silent about it.
The kid's plate has more pieces of meat than the father.
The one who buys.
So, honorable colleagues, Honorable Show, you had something to say? In the interest of time, why don't we? Because we are talking about their 5-year strategic plan. Why don't we come to 3.17, the utilization of their warrants, and we see how, because we have a very important matter here. Say that we spend most of this time in ensuring that, in finding out whether Ugandans got value for the money for 2024, 25 straight away to the activities that were partially implemented. We take note that you had a budget of 279. You spent 277. Percentage performance was close to 99%. Did we have anything that was unutilized? You can help me find out. But our major interest is in the partially implemented activities. Those 18 partially implemented that constituted to 271 billion. When you look at the biggest part of your money, actually close to 98% of your activities were partially implemented. And actually this is where the real budget is. And colleagues, interest yourselves, go to Annex B, gives the details of those activities that were partially implemented. For those ones, you need to explain why do you get money and fail to utilize it, and the impact of that to service delivery. When you respond to that, we shall be done. Is this Annex 8? Yes.
Honorable Chair, Annex 8 is the one that specifies the response to that issue. And we give responses of those that were implemented, fully implemented, and those that were partially implemented, which have been actually rolled over to this current financial year.
I'm looking for Annex 8. Are you there yet? I'm seeing these so many attachments that are not numbered, not labeled. So I don't know how you conclude that it's Annex 8. A8?
Annex 7.
This is the A8?
Yes, A8. After the letter from 16th October.
Yep.
Then there is an
Okay.
A8.
It is A8. Our interest in those that were partially implemented. Actually, from where the label A8 is, that's where the partially implemented begin from. Finance and administration, you begin from there.
Thank you, Chair. On the first item for finance and administration were subscriptions to international organizations, and it was partially implemented. We hadn't fully paid, but with the funds that we have received now, we have fully implemented. We have been paying our subscriptions to COMESA.
Yeah, the unfortunate part of this is we don't see figures.
Madam Chair, I think we can avail those figures.
Honorable colleagues,
all these have figures.
Honorable colleagues, it's very hard for you to proceed on this subject without figures. We need to see how much was allocated, how much did you spend? Did you spend all the money? What happened? So the fact that we have items that are not costed, because the accounting officer, how do you, because we would be speaking to, I mean, this is history. We're talking about money. There is nothing, concerning money. So you will have to, auditor, we need to have figures here. There is no way you can compare, implementation, partial, how much was spent, how much was, I don't know whether it makes sense out of what I'm saying. You get.
Yes, Honorable Chair, I totally agree with you that we should improve this submission and add figures.
Honorable colleagues, kindly allow, we cannot proceed on discussion of a matter that speaks to money without allocating the exact funds, that were meant for some of these activities. That was a very big error to whoever did it. You see? It is something we need to correct, and that makes you reappear. Because this is where money is. This is your budget. Without this, we can't ascertain on how you served the ministry for that period of time. Honorable colleagues, I want to thank you. No, you wanted us to go to the financials. If you have financials for partials, you can't do anything. Except when you have, I don't know, where, which you can raise, But are they related to these activities that were not allocated figures? Okay, let's.
A few issues that we need the clarification on from the financials, because these financials are really to many users.
True.
And I want to be sure that the head of accounts is but there he doesn't have a microphone. So now that the procurement guru has finished procuring without specifications, we need to be helped. Mr. Accountant, when you look at your statement of appropriation, okay, and you compare it with the cash flow statement, okay, just go to that item of grants, and I want us to move together so that we understand each other. Let's start with statement of appropriation on page 13 of your financials. Okay. And pick that item of grants and other transfers. If you are there, your initial budget was 125.1 billion. I'm just rounding off. Then the adjustments is 115.3 billion. The revised is 240 billion. I'm rounding off. Then the actual is 239.4 billion. If you are already there. And this is your statement of appropriation. Now, I'm trying to trace your actual of 239 in the cash flow statement on page 11. You can also get there. Page 11. Pick the same item, grants and other transfers. Okay, if you are there, what is indicated is an amount of 232 billion. Okay? Yet ideally to help any user, the two figures, given that all of them are cash, would be speaking to each other. But in this case, while the grants and other transfers was budgeted and the actual expenditure is 239 billion, what went to grants and other transfers is 232 billion. So the question is, what about the difference of 7.178 billion? Where did it go? And because I afford it, I will help you, because you don't want to waste time. I will help you and tell you where it went. Okay? Still go to remain on page 11. Okay? I can say that the exact difference when you pick the item of domestic areas paid out during the year. Are you there? That is in a statement of cash flows or cash flow statement. If you are there, that figure of 7.17 billion is the exact amount. Yes, of domestic areas. Now, of course, there is one question. The first question is about the diversion, mischarge. Okay, it was grants. The money was budgeted for grants and other transfers, right? And released. You spent less. You diverted over 7 billion to pay domestic areas. I hope we are together. That's why I'm slow. And if you want me to repeat, I will repeat. Okay? Now, over 7 billion is not really pocket change. Of course, we will need authority of diversion, how you diverted it. Then another question is about these areas. These areas, I've tried to trace for them, but I'm not seeing their source. And because of that, I want to take you to statement of outstanding commitments. I'm sure even the accounting office are moving slowly, so she also understands. She will get the point. Statement of outstanding commitments. Page 40. Page 40. Okay. When you go to page 40 of your financials, okay, I have tried to look for, first of all, because since you paid these areas should have been there, the ones you paid. But when you look at the statement of rather outstanding commitments, these areas are not there. The ones that are there are 3.1 billion and not paid. These ones which are there crossed the year and you did not pay them.
And were not budgeted for.
And we are not budgeted for anyway. You didn't budget to pay them. Then, in that same statement of outstanding commitments, you see there is that column of prior year's commitments paid during the year. I have looked for 7 billion, which you paid, it is not there. Okay? And now, of course, when you reach at that point, if you haven't given me an explanation, I will first say you paid domestic areas which were not there, what we call non-existing areas or fictitious what? Areas. You paid areas but which were not there. And you know what that one means. However, that's why I'm raising these, so that you give us an explanation. Likewise, even if you go to the note, to the relevant note of these areas, still you will find the 3 billion, okay? You will not see the 7 billion. Actually, that would mean that there would be 10. You pay the 7, you remain with the 3, but they are not there. So where did they jump from to get paid? I hope we are together, and I hope the accounting office also has followed. So for now, that would imply that we paid those people who were demanding money but who were not there. But you will explain. Then there is that one I have finished now. There is another that needs an explanation. In the notes and in the comments, I haven't seen where we sold the non-produced assets, which would be land, goodwill, lands, and minerals, and whatever. I haven't seen any note suggesting that. But when you go to your statements, they suggest to any reader that actually land was revalued or part of the land was sold, because revaluing land, if it is going upwards, it would be understood. But in this case, the other financial year, to simplify it, you had a higher figure of land. But this financial year in question, the value of land has reduced. And land can only appreciate. Or else it can reduce when you have sold some land. But when you follow through your financial statements, you don't see anything that is suggesting that. So still it would be upon you to actually take us through and tell us what happened to the land. But to simplify it for you, so that you understand it, look at your statement of financial position, page 10. Page 10. I hope you are there. Okay. By close of financial year 2023-2024, the value of your land and other associated matters or items was 1,425,000,000. Okay, but for the financial year in question, it has reduced to 690 million. And if you follow through that note 27, we can also go there. It actually suggests the same, but it doesn't show whether land was sold. It doesn't show what happened. And with the revaluation downwards, that is quite an 43, yes. My colleague says I got 43. I don't have it. Oh, yes. Yes. Summary of statement of stores and other assets, physical, when you go to page 43. The opening balance shows 690, and it doesn't now speak to the other over $1 billion. So now, Madam Accounting Officer, did you sell some land? But again, page 31, your note, the note which is explaining the other figures in the statement of financial position, is clear that by the end of the last financial year, the value of your land was 1,425,000,000. Okay. However, this now contrasts the one I have just read, because what is closing balance becomes opening balance. It's like when you sleep with the 100,000 shillings in your pocket. Even when you are waking up, that money will be there. If you don't have other people who pickpocket in your house, that money will be there. It's what you start with. So the note is here, but I think that is enough. But where you feel you need some explanation, I will tell the chair I will. But now those are for you to really tell us so that we get to know what it is. Because Madam Accounting Officer is saying there is no money, but the money has come. Again, it doesn't go. It is clearing domestic areas. But these domestic areas you trace through and through, we are never there. So what do we pay? Thank you, Chair.
Chair, Honorable Choma, did you also look at page 13?
You can go ahead. There are others, but Chair may not have enough time. But those ones, but you can also add, because I'm trying really.
Yes. Because now the areas are 7 plus 3. But when we look at page 13, statement of appropriation, you didn't budget for anything called areas. You didn't budget for anything called areas. However, you also budgeted for NTR, which you did not realize. Maybe you can now generalize that. You look at the transfers, the treasury, you look at the note 7, and then you look at
yes, Honorable Chair, you had something to raise?
Chair,
yes, you look.
I thought Honorable Choma would also
note 20 and so on.
You know, when it comes to these figures, I enjoy listening to him. But page 45. Page 45. Madam Chair, I hope the accounting office has reached 45. There is a budget line, projects and subvention balances, and there is Uganda warehouse services system, which was rationalized, and it is against the law to. This is against PFMA, which provides for expel of appropriation and remittance of unutilized funds to the consolidated fund by the end of the financial year. I hope The accounting officer has noted that.
Honorable Chair and honorable members, yes, I note the issue that the honorable member has raised, and we wrote to Director Banking BOU to transfer that unutilized balance of 307,919,054 shillings to the consolidated fund account, and we have evidence of our communication.
Evidence is what we need.
Honorable members, I request that. Honorable Choma, how many questions do we have for financials? Issues do we have for financials?
You know, Honorable Chair, that narration has very many questions or
The narration has so many.
but once it is explained, because you see, you have, for example, these are transfers and grants. You budgeted for them, you've gotten money. Okay, but when you are paying, you have made a diversion. You don't actually, you divert 7 billion. Okay, that is the diversion 1 for grants. But 2, now you have used it to pay domestic areas. But you didn't budget for domestic areas. That is 2. You didn't budget for it, but you are paying it. But worse of that, what is really very, very important?